Let's talk sports, fans. Thanks for tuning in.
Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great Headkicks and Haymakers. I am Bodkins, and of course, that is not to Stevie Wonder. That is my guy, Wit. Wit, what is up, my man? Isn't she lovely? Isn't she beautiful?
What's going on, bro, man? Hey, look, man, sometimes God gives you lemon, and we got to make lemon zest. We're not going to make lemonade today. We're just going to make a little lemon zest to sprinkle onto the wings, which we call head kicks and haymakers today. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Incredible. Obviously, I told you. Let me set the, I know we're going to get into the St. Louis card here in a minute, but let me just tell you about the weekend that I had at UFC St. Louis. It was absolutely incredible. Friday night, drive up to the weigh-ins. It was a great time. Not very many people at the weigh-ins. I'd say 100 people at the ceremonial weigh-ins tops.
Right.
So they just kind of bring everybody out real quick. There wasn't a press conference, so it's just like they just go stroll through the card pretty quick. And then they ask, Derek Lewis, like, hey, I'm gonna fuck, and he's just, gives the annual, I'm gonna fuck this guy up tomorrow night for y'all people in St. Louis.
Right.
And we're all like,
real Derek Lewis, like.
Yeah. I mean, it's typical, exactly what he, you know what I mean? Like what he came across. And I was a little scared for Joaquin Buckley after the weigh-ins just because how massive that Zabudov guy was. He was fucking huge in person compared to Joaquin Buckley. Right. So then I head over to the meet and greet. I meet Terrence McKinney. He's not really like in line. He's just kind of in the crowd and dapped some people up, took a picture with them, said what's up. Here's my Terrence McKinney story. I got two of them all together. And they kind of coincide together, right? So Terrence is like, hey, I was like, Terrence, man, like I got my Bodkin Show podcast shirt on. So I'm like, hey, Terrence, man, I've seen like 8 DMs, bro. Like, when are you going to come on my podcast? And he's like, you located here? I'm like, yeah. Well, I mean, some for the most part, but I was really just, it'd be Zoom or whatever. But I was just like, yeah, I am. I'm located. He's like, all right. He's like, text me. Text you, motherfucker. Like, you ain't even give me your fucking number, bro. Like, I didn't respond back to that like that. But like, that's the thought process through my fucking head was just like,
right. Of course. Like, yes.
Text you. Like, what the fuck you mean text you? Like, you ain't give me your digits, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't say like, hey man, here's my number, fucking holla at me.
Right.
All right, whatever. Well, I'll get back to that because karma's a motherfucker for Terrence McKinney, right?
Oh, yeah. You got a lot to talk about with that one. We got a lot to talk about with that one. Yes, sir.
So then I still like Terrence. I really do. Just, whatever. I just, hey, guys, busy. And kudos to whatever for him just taking the time out to take the picture with me.
Right.
So I'm in line. I meet Charles Johnson. He's getting ready to fight. He actually won on Saturday Night Flyweight. And he daps me up, asks me about my shirt. I'm like, hey man, I'd love to have you on the podcast. He takes a good picture with me. And super nice guy. And he's like, he's like, send me the picture or tag me in the picture and I'll retweet it out for you. I'm like, hey, that's cool. What's up? Same thing. I meet Sean Woodson. And he wins Saturday night in a very close fight. We'll break down the card in just a minute with Alex Asarius. But hey, it is what it is. He said, man, ask me about my shirt again. He's like, oh, so Charles was like, not Charles, but Charles was like, hey man, like I see you. He could tell that was like my podcast shirt, right? Like he's like, I see you putting on for yourself. He's like, man, he's like, that's a good hustle. He's like, respect. I said, hey, appreciate it. And then, Sean Woodson was like, hey, what's this Bodkin show right here? What's this? This is a nice shirt you got on. I'm like, oh, that's my podcast, man. Like, need you to come on, bro. Put on for brother.
Yeah.
He's like, no doubt, no doubt. All right. And then, so then I drive home. I'm on cloud like 9, after meeting with everybody. Met up with my guy, Brad Tate, the cut man who was on the podcast a couple months ago, about a month ago. Met up with him. He was super nice. Asked me how my family was doing. Just like, just kind of, we've been kind of messing each other back and forth. Just really cool guy. And he just, I said what's up to him. He was cool. So then drove home. Me and wife go up Saturday. We get there. We miss with the first fight. I think we get there about the second fight. So then it's the break. It's the break before the Terrence McKinney fight. I'm like, hey, let's go get a drink. So it's after the Diego Ferreira fight. Wait.
Right.
No. It was
Diego Ferreira. That's the wrong one, right?
It was after the Richie fight. So I'm like, hey, baby, let's go get something to drink and get some food. So we standing in line, and that I hear Bruce calling out the Terrence McKinney and all doing the intros for that fight. I'm like, shit. I said, baby, I know Terrence McKinney's fights, they don't go very long. Like, whether win or lose, right? Like, so we're standing in line, and I tell her that, and it was like 30 seconds later, dude gets fucking, and I scream where I'm like, oh my God, he fucking slept him. He fucking slept him. I mean, at the top of my fucking lungs is about as hard as I fucking can.
Right.
I was like, yeah, well, that's what you get for not telling me your number, Terrence,
Yes, karma's a motherfucker. You disrespect Watkins, you get knocked out. Remember that.
Karma's a motherfucker, But, I still like Terrence. I still think he's a good guy. But, it was just fun. He got slept. The crowd in St. Louis, Dana said it, 15,000 people was insane. It was for the main card all the way packed. Randy Orton was in the house. A couple other people, big name fighters was in the house. But man, the card itself, the fight itself, I never chanted as a Cub fan STL a day in my life until Saturday night. As we were rooting for Woodson and Joaquin Buckley, who gets a nice win, and then as the kids would like to say, he fumbled the bag on the call out, calling Conor McGregor. I kind of get it, and we'll get into that too. Like, I think he was trolling. He just come off a big win in his home crowd, but and then you can't, and we'll get into the DC stuff here in a little bit as well.
Right. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, Derek Lewis knocks out the guy, shows his ass, literally moons everybody.
One more time, right?
Yeah, the cup, the shorts. Derek Lewis is such a fun fighter. Crowd was hot for Derek Lewis, Joaquin Buckley. But, man, it was I've been to basketball games, football games, but there's nothing better than a big fight night, man. Like, just the atmosphere itself is a whole ass vibe.
Bro, I was literally about to ask you, as one of my friends who's well-traveled, I mean, you've been to basketball games, baseball games, football games, porn shoots, and now the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like what is the atmosphere like going into the door, knowing that there's going to be a knockout, standing around 15,000 other avid fans? Like, there's literally nothing else like it.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. You know what I mean? And you can hear the thump of the crowd. You know what I mean? The hits, the knockouts, the crowd erupting. It's something special, and it just felt like all night. Like, we were waiting. Like, after it. So once McKinney got knocked out, that was kind of. But then, like, once the main card, right? You're just like this anticipation of waiting to see, this knockout. And you got Derek Lewis out there trying to take takedowns, and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing, Derek? Just knock this guy out so we can go the fuck home." We want to see this place erupt. That's what it's alluded to, man. It's just an atmosphere and an environment like, that you enjoy, because you're watching it's like the only thing that is like, right, is like the back in Gladiator times, like, you know what I mean? Like, where you would go watch two dudes and one guy coming out alive and one guy's dead, just two gladiators going to the Coliseum. and that's what it's like, you know. So to me, that's, you know, and that's the purest form.
Man, listen, in my time, I've been to some amateur boxing matches. I've been to some arena football, most recently, but I can't wait till I get an opportunity to step my foot into a situation where there's going to be some blood sports, such as the UFC event. Because UFC's been to Jacksonville, but I was just getting my way around. But hopefully, the next time we're there in Florida, I think I'm just going to take me a day off or two and go see an event. Catch me a fight night or something.
Yeah, it's incredible. This year, I went last year to Kansas City. I felt like the St. Louis crowd was just a lot more alive, and maybe because they had 2 or 3 guys from St. Louis on the card.
Right.
But you know, it was. Now I know Dana. I will say this: while Dana said it's the highest grossing fight night in history of the UFC, also them motherfucking. So I got my tickets on special. Shout out Vet Tickets. But if you. But for like the real people, like, number one, that shit's expensive. Like, it's 100. Where we were sitting at was up there. It was like $180 ticket. So it is on the high end. So, like, of course you're gonna make money that way. And then he said these people were in there from from the beginning of the most part, which it was. I would say 75%, 75 to 50% was filled, even at the second to third fight in, right?
Right.
And I say that because to me, me and my friend were talking, like, St. Louis is not a destination city. It's like working class city for the most part. So it's like real St. Louis people in there at the fights, you know. So they spent their hard earned money. So of course, like, you spend $200, $300 on a ticket, your ass is gonna go from the fucking beginning to the end.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's not really a transient city somewhere people travel to
Yeah.
every once in a while. So real St. Louis guys took the day off and really was in there the whole day with you.
Yeah, they saved up their money and spent their hard-earned money to go, right? Like real. You know, there was a few people that I talked to. I talked to a couple from Denver and a couple guys. They came from Indiana, but like for the most part, it was just, you know what I mean? Like, it's all a lot of St. Louis people, but that you know, it's not like a destination. It's not Vegas, you know what I mean? Like, people go to Vegas every fucking day just to go to Vegas. Like, ain't nobody really come to St. Louis just to come to St. Louis like that.
I mean, you know, ain't no more Nelly, so it's not like the old days.
yeah. So so it's just like, I feel like that's a hard working city where people spent their hard earned money, so they're gonna show up and show out, and hopefully they come back, you know, quicker than the 6 years or so.
Man, listen, I appreciate you sharing the experience with me. I felt like I was there looking at your videos, catching the pictures, feeling the vibe. And, listen, I appreciate you bringing it back to us here on the show. Because, I mean, you know, who else but Bikins gets to go to these events? Shout out to my guy, Tanner, who's also well-traveled. My guy, Tanner Dawson, who just so happens to go to like every other baseball game for some odd reason. But yeah, between the two of you, I always feel like I'm in the action, bro.
Yeah, we try, man. Like, it's just my wife. Shout out to you know, she's a keeper with when it's Mother's Day weekend, and she says, "Let's go to the fight." So,
right,
you know, she may not like dissect it as like I do, or remember like the names like I do. You know, like, can't recall like, oh, this guy's this and this record, right? But she sees the guy and she'd be like, oh yeah, we watched this guy fight and he got his ass beat by you know what I mean? And she loves watching that shit more than I do almost sometimes. Like, it's appointment television for her, and she loves going to the fights. She's like, it's a whole ass different vibe. So
hey man, listen, you know, note to self, fellas, all fellas, find someone who's interested, even remotely, in some of the shit that you like. Cause I ain't gonna lie, my wife from time to time, she stays up and watches. Now she's a big Jokic fan now, so she's been watching these Denver Minnesota playoffs. Wasn't like that before. Oh, look at that. She's like Beetlejuice. I said her name 3 times. She's about to pop in the door. Go ahead, talk real quick. Let me do something right fast. I'll be right back, Bikins, bro.
Hey, you good, brother? So we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the St. Louis card. Obviously, Derek Lewis finally gets back on the winning side. He had been out, you know, really had lost I think, 4 of his last 5 or something like that, but gets a win. To me, the next step for him is Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Like, I don't know how that matchup hasn't been made. That seems to be, I'm looking at the heavyweight rankings here. Let's see. Derek Lewis is now 6. Lewis is 10. Where's Jairzinho? 12, and Jairzinho's 12. So, I mean, Derek Lewis jumped up 2 spots. He jumped over Tai Tuivasa. So I'd like to see that. You could even make that a main event. Those 2 guys main event all the time. Jairzinho does and Lewis does. So why not make that a main? And then on the other side, so I like that fight. And then Joaquin Buckley, I mentioned after the fight, he called out Conor McGregor, which we knew was a bad mistake. And
bye, baby.
After he calls out Conor, then today it seems I shared this, I think, with you, Whit. Hold on, I'm gonna get this. I want to get these tweets right here. By a one. Where did I share that at? Let me look here. I might have retweeted it. I want to get these tweets right.
Oh, excuse me.
Here it is. Here it is. So obviously nobody liked the call out from Joaquin to calling out Conor. DC and Bisping, Chael Sonnen all said it was a bad call out. You shouldn't have done it. And then so Joaquin Buckley, he tweets out this: "Let this be known, DCM, DC, Bisping, and Chael Sonnen, y'all mamas raised some hoes. Y'all really trying to twist up my words, knowing damn well what I said in the cage. But it's okay. We can all have some fun. 100. Man, DC don't normally talk like this and represent himself like this. He usually keeps things professional, but he did not keep this one professional. DC's responded was, "Shut up, pussy. Maybe listen. You had a dumbass call out. You're getting talked about by 3 of the biggest voices in the game. Maybe listen. It was the worst call out in history. Don't let winning a few fights at 170s get you excited, bro. Don't mention Audrey."
Listen, this is where.
And what happens next time if Joaquin wins and DC got to get in the cage?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, this is where you have
I got to
know.
sip my tea on that one.
Yeah, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, bro. In reality, somewhere in this conversation, the word for the day, ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching, is discernment. Okay, he should have figured out that, just in case you don't know, discernment is the ability to know when and when not to do certain things, like make a statement such as calling out Conor McGregor after, you kind of got a little clout in the UFC. You just begged Dana White to be on this card. He did you a favor. You won your fight. Great job. It wasn't a knockout. It was by unanimous decision. Awesome. But then you call out technically one of the most decorated fighters in UFC history, and you have not even stepped up to the to the, what you want to call it, the precipice of the division. Yeah, I think it was a little early. I like the bravado. Once again, another vocabulary word for everybody watching. I like the fact that he believes in himself very much so. But it wasn't the time, man. Call out somebody in 175 that you really could, take on. And if
he did say backstage, like, I know I'm not going to get the Conor fight, but let me take on Gilbert Burns, which I like that. Go ahead. But here's the thing, Buckley, if you're going to call out Conor and you're going to do it like that, then you got to be okay with people saying some shit. That's how I always look at it. My kids always, I tell my kids, hey, dress however you want to dress. Have your hairstyle, whatever you want to have, but you got to be okay. How you walk out that house, people going to say some shit. And some of them people might be your own dad. I might say some shit about you. You know what I mean? I may make fun of you, but you got to be okay with that. Like if you're gonna go out looking at showing your ass out in the street, then you got to be okay with people saying some shit. And Joaquin wasn't okay with that. And then he got put in his place and got cooked in the comments.
And listen, and the thing is, I think that this is, and just like you said, man, this is a learning area for Joaquin Buckley. Even though it could have been, just like you said, DC is known for keeping it more professional over in any other engagement, especially on social media
unless your name's John Jones, right? Unless your name's
unless it's John Jones in his prime, that's the only time we might have seen DC out of character. But for me, this could have been a lesson that he could have said, "Hey, give me a call. Let me tell you how to do it next time. You want to call somebody out? Why not? Once again, we got Ian Gary up here, Gilbert Burns. You can't do Kobe. Jack Medellina. So somebody like that. But creep into the top 5. But to go straight for Conor, hey man, pipe down, young man. But it's a lesson. I'm sure. It got to be somewhere in there. Hey, you mentioned DC's mom.
He somebody should have said y'all mamas raised some hoes. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
You started a war there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they here's the thing is you like I said, you gonna say some shit. DC, Chael Sonnen, and Bisping, they get paid to talk on a microphone. So they got to say, you know what I mean? That's their job to analyze or say shit on their shows and podcasts to say shit. You know what I mean? You don't got to go at their mama like that, and then DC gonna slap you around and call you a pussy, which I mean, DC he ain't fought in a few years, but I still take my money, put my money on DC over Joaquin Buckley.
Listen, man, Joaquin Buckley think he can wrestle until you get Kung Fu Panda on top of you. Okay. I tell you, ain't nothing like that old prime DC wrestling the mess out of everybody, okay? I remember that. I was there for the moments.
But yeah, so that was I do like the Gilbert Burns matchup for Joaquin. Real quick, there's a couple other guys I wanted to highlight. Chase Hooper, nice fight. Did you see that dude who got did you see Borshchakev, what he looked like the next day?
Oh man, with the knot on his head?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't see what it looked like the next day. It looked worse.
Oh yeah,
because it looked pretty bad in the ring, if I must say so myself.
Who was it? The other guy that got there was a guy that got beat up. It's Repedzik. He got beat up and he looked awful. Awful. But Chase Hooper, big win. He pretty much said, hey, he'll take on Patty. I wouldn't mind that. I'd like to see Chase get somebody close to the top 15 in the lightweight division there, or Patty. But overall, man,
I thought that was a slick shot at Patty Pimblett. It was more so, I'm going to say this, but hey, if you're not paying attention, we still, you should still know who you're talking about. Somebody like me, we know that's Patty Pimblett. We know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And they'll match up Patty with somebody, I'm sure, in London on the London card soon, or Manchester card, whatever card you want to call it. But we'll see what happens there. Other than that, before we move into some boxing stuff here? Any thoughts? What's your thoughts on just the whole UFC St. Louis?
To be real with you, man, it was some surprising stuff, especially on the main card that I caught. I did catch the Chase Hooper. I thought that was a good one. Let's see, another one I kind of caught was the Menifield Coburg. I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
Coburg.
I was like, wait a minute. I thought this was going to be a different fight, but nope. Apparently not when it comes to Oberg. He took him completely out. Of course, we just talked about the Joaquin Buckley and Roosevelt fight. And then, once again, this is an idea that, me and you've been talking about this for a while. Derek Lewis kind of went on a bit of a skid with those last couple of fights. And now, against Nascimento, it looked like he was back on that, that bull. You know what I'm saying? Back on that horse he used to be on where, hey, look, My cardio isn't the best, but I know I'm strong and I can take you out in these first couple seconds. Let me just get straight to that. I think one or two of the last fights that I remember really watching for Derek Lewis, I was more so in that mindset of like, why isn't he doing, like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? That Almeida fight, it looked like he was trying to do the Almeida thing. Don't be Almeida, be you, be Derek Lewis, be the Black Beast. And I felt like he went into the ring for sure on that tip.
Well, I had it. Obviously, I'm not watching the broadcast, but like, because I was there, but like he kept going for wrestling, and I guess they were saying like they're in between rounds is like his team was like, will you stop messing around with this guy and just knock this dude out? Like, and then finally in the third round, he did. So
right. Yeah, once again, it's a thing. It's a thing of beauty to see, but at the same time, shout out to Derek Lewis to trying to prove, hey, I'm becoming more well-rounded in the fight game, and maybe one day he'll show us, man. He might go to AKA and get on the mat with DC and practice or something.
Next thing we see him out there wrestling bears with Khabib.
Yeah, right. You take a trip to Russia. Black Russians and stuff, they out there.
The Oldberg KO. What was Menfield thinking? Like, what was his game plan? He had none, man.
I think that was a slip.
And just got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, I think that was a slip in judgment. I don't think he thought it was going to land like that. I really don't think it was going to land on him like that, but it did. Straight in there, get out of there. That's the end of it. Good night.
Yeah, I mean, we can take just a quick look at this card. We are a couple weekends away here from UFC 292 or 302.
302.
Yeah. This weekend card, Edwin Barbosa is back. He's taking on up and comer LaRon Murphy. My guy, Chaos Williams. I'm a big guy like Chaos Williams. Adrian Yanez is back on this card. So, it's not the greatest fight night card in the world. It is live at the Apex. It's funny that, I find it funny. Dana's like, we're getting out of the Apex. We're moving past the Apex. And then this week, live from the UFC Apex.
Hey, look, man, the thing is, I feel like Dana White is such a strategical planner that they're going to use it to their advantage as much as possible before we completely see no more Apex. And he's going to use it every chance he's got.
Yeah, but other than that, I think Barbosa's always fun to see. We know he's a veteran in this game, so that's other than that, there's really not anybody where you feel like, oh, I gotta watch this fight. Barbosa's 12, so LaRon Murphy's trying to get into that top, those top 15 rankings if he wins here. So.
Yeah, definitely. We want to see if Murphy can actually stand the test of time in there with the ring with a proven veteran. Of course, we're not saying LaRon Murphy can't do it, but this is one of those occasions where, look, they're going to put you out there. It's sink or swim. Definitely sink or swim for him. So and of course, at the Apex, all eyes are on you. So there's no excuses.
Yeah. We obviously get into the boxing here. The heavyweight championships of the world is finally arriving Saturday afternoon. We finally have it. Tyson Fury versus Usyk. It is on in live in Saudi Arabia as soon as Fury's dad stops headbutting people.
Well, man, listen, this is one of those, as I am the boxing aficionado on the show, so to speak, like this is one of those that we want to see it so we can see the next thing. That's normally how it goes in boxing. We want to see this play out so that we can go ahead and see the future. And it's kind of weird in boxing because, in the UFC, there's rankings, and there's people at the bottom who get to the top. But in boxing, being that there's so many sanctioning bodies, we don't know which person is going to go where in terms of title contention at some point. But in this case, these fights are somewhat set in stone based on what has already happened. They were supposed to fight in February. Somehow, some way, my man Tyson Fury gets a nasty gash over his eye, mate. Real nasty gash. And
Yeah.
and somehow, some way, we had to wait almost 3 months before before we could do it, because of course we don't want to have any, there's no, once again, boxing is almost very much similar to hockey where there's no complaining. Nobody wants to hear about your elbow being popped out of the socket. Nobody wants to hear about your finger being broken. Nobody wants to hear about the gash over your eye that was there 2 months ago. So they gave them plenty of time to heal and then still be in shape. And Tyson Fury, although is the boxing comparative body style to Nikola Jokic, he is in top shape at all times. I don't care what I'm one of those people. Whereas I might not like him as my favorite boxer, but I love his story. I remember when he was at the Rise, we was thinking he was going crazy every 20 seconds. Nah, because he was on a lot of alcohol and cocaine, whole lot of it. And we wondered why he was spiraling out of control, because he told everybody, look, I was literally trying to kill myself every other day and it wasn't working. And, I love the fact that his story has brought him to this point with where his sobriety has brought him to where now he can control and manage his money and be where he wants to be. And here we go, fighting Alexander Usyk. And this is not a slouch by any means necessary for him to fight someone who comes from a background of being right there at that super heavy, like that super heavyweight, and somewhere in there, when you think about Fury, what I'm saying, and his boxing background, we've seen him fight some heavyweight fights, but this one is going to be the one in which there's no telling of the outcome. We really can't. I've seen him have outskill people. You know what I'm saying?
To me, Fury's so much bigger, right? Like to me,
Yeah.
like size wise, he looks so much bigger than Usyk.
Yes, he is. He's taller. He's freaking 6'8", 6'9", and Usyk, admittedly said in an interview, if he's got that almost, he almost sounds like he's they're from the very similar places as one of our favorite fighters. You know what I'm saying? And he goes, yeah, if size matter in jungle, then elephant would be king, and he makes complete sense. You know what I'm saying? Because, although when you think about the pairing, you think about Tyson Fury being the heavier hitter, when in reality, it's Alexander Usyk. Usyk is the knockout artist. You know what I'm saying? Now, but Fury will piece you up. Fury is a pugilist. Fury is a pure pugilist. He can punch. He has hand speed. He has his body dexterity. For a man 6'8", he can move like someone half his size. It's ridiculous. When you watch those replays and see him, him weaving in and out of those punches that when he was fighting Deontay Wilder, it was ridiculous. But, in this case, if he gets caught by one of these punches from Usyk, he could go down. And then once again, what do we want to see? We want to see him fight that gentleman from England, man. Let's go ahead and put that up.
So, the Turkey Al Sheikh was on the MMA Hour today, and he pretty much said, so there is a rematch clause in this for September. So they fight now, rematch and fight September, and then I think they're trying to get out. AJ has a fight lined up. If he wins that one, he would get the winner of the rematch for this series. So rematch clause is set for this. Who do you like to win this one?
To be honest with you, man, the lineal champ is the lineal champ for a reason. Alexander Usyk is not, like I said, once again, is not to be slept on. But I feel like this is one of those fights that's going to go all the way to the 12th round. It's going to be about points. And, that extension, that long reach, that height is going to play into how Fury plays into fighting Alexander Usyk. He's going to keep him away. He's going to move. He's going to bob. He's going to weave. He's not going to let him get in close, because when he gets in close, that's playing into Usyk's territory. That's playing into exactly what Usyk would want him to do. Is I'm getting tired of him, being so far away. I want to take him out. No, sir. Nah, that's not what you do. with that gentleman. You keep your head on a swivel. You stay away from him. You make sure that you parry him. You make sure that you got your jab working. You make sure you pop him in the eye enough to where eventually you can throw, one of your power shots at him. But if you go in there for the kill too early, Alexander Usyk is a counter specialist. Counter specialist. So if you miss, he slips that jab or you slip that right cross and he throws the left at you to your body or to your head, it could end the fight rather quickly. But once again, I would put my money on Fury, but not for a knockout, more like maybe a split decision.
I mean, the thing that worries you about Fury to me is the last time out, right? Like, you're only as good as your last fight. And last time we saw him, he almost lost to Francis Ngannou. So
yeah.
I mean? So it's tough. I think that was a wake up call, and I'm gonna go with you. I'm going Tyson Fury to beat Alexander Usyk on Saturday, baby.
Listen, man, and you bring that up, and I think that you're exactly right. I think even though Tyson Fury is not drinking, not smoking, I think he took the fight with Ngannou too lightly. I think he took it too lightly, and I think the mental embarrassment. He won the fight. He won the fight on the card, but the mental embarrassment of getting knocked out by an MMA fighter, plus a guy who has no boxing skill at all, and then to go, watch him fight Anthony Joshua and see how quick, and see how quick Anthony Joshua dispatched Francis Ngannou. I think that he checked himself and said, okay, so I can't play around. Because the next, somewhere in whatever he does, we've been waiting. Real boxing fans, if Wilder didn't fight Anthony Joshua, which he will not do anymore, of course, because he lost several fights. If Fury didn't fight Anthony Joshua, somebody had to fight Anthony Joshua, for Christ's sake. And this is where we're finally going to, if it works out with the two fights, and of course, I guarantee you there's a knockout clause in there. If Usyk gets knocked, if either man gets knocked out, I guarantee you that rematch is going to be null and void, somewhat of what they did with Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. How bad the Errol Spence beating was. They was like, all right, forget the rematch. If it's bad like that, then I guarantee you, Turkey Al Sheikh will go, hey, look, I'll just pay you $1 million, $2 million. Don't even worry about the rematch. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking forward to it though. Oh yeah, and other boxing, real quick, one more last thing. Other boxing news. Last week also, Vasily Lomachenko, one of my favorite fighters, stopped George Kambosos by TKO in the 11th round. Anybody knows there's a time where Lomachenko and Triple G and who else? Somewhere in there, Teofimo Lopez. These guys were all switching positions and weight classes, and then of course Tank Davis comes in with the big money, and nobody fights Tank. Nobody fights Lomachenko. Nobody fights Triple G. But it is what it is. Once again, sanctioning bodies make the rules. That's what happens in boxing. But Lomachenko took care of the Aussie George Kambosos Jr. in the 11th round, decidedly. And it was such a tough match, I'm sure, for his parents to watch. Kambosos' father, George Kambosos Sr., threw in the towel and saved his son, which was the right thing to do. Sometimes, in UFC, the ref steps in, saves the fighter. It's a great thing. It's not a negative thing. But sometimes the corner in the boxing ring has to make the right decision, save the fighter from himself, throw in the towel. And now that's what happened with George Kambosos. With a TKO, who got TKO'd in the 11th round by the great Vasily Lomachenko once again. So hey, got to throw that up in there too.
Hey, great breakdown. With you are the boxing aficionado of this show. I will always say that. Whit, before we get up out of here, what you got going on the rest of the week?
First of all, I'm going to get my normal setup back so I can use the camera I like to use. Second of all, I'm going to be back on with the guys from LTS in the Hoop. We're going to be doing the basketball show like normal, baby. We got that playoff smoke happening right now. I want to turn around to see if the Celtics beat the Cavaliers, but I'm afraid to look again because the score was so close before I got on the show.
What the hell the Celtics doing, man?
They playing with their food, man.
Nobody playing.
They playing with their food. I don't know, but of course by Friday, possibly 2 out of the 4 semifinals matchups will be decided, and I'll be talking about those. So, and then I'll be back on here with you, man, next Wednesday talking about more fights. Oh, and somewhere in there, Jake Paul's gonna fight Mike Tyson.
That's next month. Next month.
That's next month. Yeah, we got to talk about that too when it happens. So yeah, more stuff.
Of course. Darren Till is fighting. You remember Darren Till from the UFC? Is fighting Chavo Chavez Jr. on that card.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. See, look at that. They got some good people on the under.
And
so we
got
to check it out.
Taylor versus Serrano on that is the co-main. That's a good one. They're trying to put that card together. Jose Aldo was offered on that card, but he said he's waiting to see what the UFC is going to offer him he'd like to stay in the UFC, but so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Jose, he getting that itch, man. If Jose's getting that itch, he want that money. That money's calling his name, man. Brazilian boxing's going to make a comeback. Watch and see what happens.
Yeah. So other than that, I'll be back tomorrow with the guys from the LTS show. We'll talk about the NBA playoffs. And then we're going to talk about our top 10 most anticipated debuts of all time, guys that we really wanted to see debut in all sports. And then we'll obviously talk a little of this NFL schedule that got put out tonight as well. So
NFL schedule, Steelers, what's up with it?
Yeah, so we'll look at all that. But other than that, this has been another great episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. For my guy, Stevie Wonders, a.k.a. Wit, I'm Bodkins. This has been another great episode. I'm going to hit that outro. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. We'll see you then.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.